This is what I do to update the dream journal. It really isn't that much different from the headlines. First I need to get there. Of course, at that. Dreams. Lots of updates. Document needs cleanup. I just don't have the motive. Dots. This is where I list all the newly added dreams, the latest updates. Case size, start a new line. And although I do know that this is July 12th, I actually add a little extra. Call it 13. Added dreams, something, put a semicolon at the end. This forms the template. So now all I gotta do is just type in some number whereas it's needed. Yes, 709 as of the previous update. Over 700, that's a lot. Most of them are in the video game and travel categories. But when I add a dream, I use my little notes here as usual. Because it's basically the only way I'm really going to be able to recall them. But, save it. Again, in my notes, I mark in here the category that it would be, right underneath the date. Okay, see, video game is the category for this one, so I go to this. And I go after whatever the highest number here is. So here's 107. If this was 110 and I needed one here, I'd just make another page, clean out everything in that new page, so leaving number 111. But that does not apply in this case. And speaking of which, I need to go grab the template. Here I form a template. Yes, I'm changing that to May. These are the various stats, in a way, that describes the dream, mostly related to the feeling, to give a more in-depth look at it. And of course, not all of its feelings, like the percent intact values, which is essentially just how well it's recalled. In general, it's actually a calculated average. Well, for a few updates anyway. Nature is essentially my compatibility with it. The higher that is, of course. The more I like the dream in general, the higher this is. Story is how much I like the story. Scenery is how much I like the scenery. It generally has a pretty weak effect. Fun, having the strongest effect, is just how fun the dream is. Of course, when the dream's a lot of fun, you'd expect to be a really high compatibility. Scary, nightmares. But then again, most dreams hover around 1.2, which really doesn't mean much. Slightly scary, but that's actually more around the typical and expected. Imagery percent intact is how well I recall the scenery. The more details I got, the higher this is. The current record is 99. And 0, if you want the opposite end. Yeah, 0. Story intact is how much I recall the story. The record for this is something like 98.5, with of course the minimum being 0. Here's the same thing, 98.5 for the high end, but 0.5 for the low end. It's in the other category, I think dream called the underbuilding. Just a 0.5% intact, just a vague scene recalled. No story, nothing else. It's just to give you an idea on how well the dream is recalled. But I need the template. Oh yes, I should also update this previous. It sort of functions as a check to make sure I get this number correct. Although I do occasionally take out calculator and punch in a bunch of ads with all this. But so save it. It's already up in here. And now I just add it into here. That's just the background. Dream 208. I just add 1. Okay. For now, I leave the title, well, no title. I'll title it when I get done with adding the details. Paste in the template, because I'm very certain I got the one for April 28. 96% certain, which is above my standard minimum. So, this one's for May 7, so I go in here and update that. I leave these headers all blank. I fill those in after I get in the details. So, I'll put in the details. I mostly just copy off whatever I have on my notes. Unless, of course, I recall something in there that's not in my notes. And I have more than 95% certainty that that is the case. 95% certainty is my standard minimum. It just essentially means that I feel as if I have a 1 in 20 chance of being wrong. Which is pretty comfortable. Okay, I'm done putting in all the details for the dream. Of course, some of it's added in there for clarity. Like this one here, off the on-screen stats, found a typo. That'd be a class 0 bug. 0. Harmless. This part here was actually not in my notes, but I actually recall it once I read the dream again.